Hello everybody, the Great Dino Ranger here again, back with another review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Jurassic World Hammond Collection True Effects Hypsilophodon. So like I said in my previous review when we took a look at the Dilophosaurus, that I also got this on sale at Target, and then we're going to take a look at it today. So yeah, really excited to have this in my collection. I'm always excited to have a new Hammond Collection figure in general, even if it's a species that wasn't part of any movies. I just think having a detailed, articulated dinosaur figure, regardless if it's from a movie or not, is really good to have. And I think it's really good, especially when you're taking pictures outside. So I'm always down to have a new Hammond Collection species. So this Hypsilophodon looks really nice. It's very similar to the Dryosaurus, but of course we'll do that when we get into comparisons. Yeah, I mean, it overall looks pretty good. So I know this guy did not appear in any of the films, but a lot of the times Mattel likes to take some species that didn't appear in the movies and make Hammond Collection versions, only to reference them from past media, I guess, in a way. So like the Dryosaurus and the Ornitholestes and the Mosaurus, I also believe that the Hypsilophodon is based off of the novels, because I think this dinosaur did appear in the novels as well, and I think it was a green color, so that's kind of cool how they kind of add that green color into this one to kind of give a little reference to the books. So that is really cool as well. So yeah, I'm really excited to have this in my collection. So taking a look at the packaging here, it's your standard Hammond Collection packaging, you know, with the T-Rex logos and the Jurassic World logo, the True Effects logo. You got a nice little render of the Hypsilophodon right here, which is actually, I think, the same render they used for the Dryosaurus. There might be some difference in maybe the shape of the beak and I think the length of the claws. Like the claws look really sharp on this figure, or this picture right here. So there might be some differences, but overall pose and everything else is pretty much the same, just different colors as well. But the coloring on this artwork looks really nice. I really do like the artwork on this one. You can even see the little teeth right there. Just a really nice piece of artwork right here. Hammond Collection, Hypsilophodon. We even got a Hypsilophodon last year, part of the, you know, like the Danger Pack size range. So it's kind of interesting how we already have a Hammond Collection one like a year after. So that's pretty interesting. And here on the side it says Hammond Collection. You just got the same render of the Hypsilophodon. And then sadly we don't get like any cool bio of the species itself. It just basically says the Hypsilophodon has increased posability, multiple points of articulation, and dynamic accessories for epic scene creations. This is the same stuff they did with the Dryosaurus and even the Mosaurus and the Ornitholestes. One thing I will say is that I really wish this little bio here would have just talked about the species as a whole. Like just talk about the species, you know, from a scientific point of view, you know, talk about where it lived and how big it was and what it ate and all that stuff. So that would have been nice instead of just doing it like this where you're just saying that, oh, it's articulated. Like obviously we know it's articulated. So that's probably the only gripe I have with these non-movie species, especially with these newer ones, is that I wish they just gave a bio of just the species. Even though it's not from a movie, just talk about the species, so at least you're educating the public about just the species that they're buying. And then interestingly, we got a Jurassic World logo, which it probably should have been Jurassic Park or The Lost World, considering that this species appeared in, I think, one of those two books, the original books, so that would have been better in my opinion. And here on the other side, you got the Hammond Collection logo, and you got a bit more of the artwork right there. And here on the back, Jurassic World logo again, and the Hammond Collection logo, Hypsilophodon, and the same bio that we got on the side. And some nice little renders of the figure itself in different poses, which looks really nice. And then you got the True Effects branding and the others in this lineup. We already did the Dilophosaurus in the last video, so if you haven't, you can go ahead and check that out. And then we have the Mutodon, which I'm really looking forward to getting whenever I do find it. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the packaging. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at this figure. Alrighty, so here we have the Hammond Collection Hypsilophodon out of the box. And I really love the way this one looks. Seeing it in the box, I really did like it, but taking it out and just taking a closer look at it, I really do love the way this one looks. Yeah, there's just, I don't know, there's just something about it that I really do like. It could be the colors, it could be just a sculpt, you know, but I feel like a lot of it too is just, it's always cool having a new species, an articulated figure, that, you know, just to have in the collection. And I don't know, maybe like these little dinosaurs that are, you know, kind of like Dryosaurus and everything like that. They're just kind of small, speedy, you know, little dinosaurs, often described as like the gazelles of the dinosaur world. So I think it's really cool to have these, and I don't know, just the thought of taking the pictures of a bunch of these kind of running together. I don't know, it's really cool, and I really do like just the way this figure looks, in my opinion. So yeah, sculpt wise, it looks pretty good. I think it captures the look of a Hypsilophodon, in my opinion. I'm not too familiar with the way it looks. I know it's very kind of very similar to how Drysaurus looks in overall appearance. You know, got the small roundish head, kind of a bigger body, long legs, and a long tail as well. So I can't wait to take a closer look when comparing this one with the Drysaurus. But yeah, I really do like this way, the way this one looks. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at the sculpt right here. Here at the head looks pretty cool, in my opinion, actually. I think the jaw with it open, I think maybe it's opened a little too wide. I feel like it should be a bit more closed, or I don't know, like the kind of like where the gum flaps are is basically where the mouth outline of the mouth should be, instead of just having it be kind of a bit more elongated, showing a bit more of the inside of the mouth. But I don't know, I'm always used to these guys having, you know, just tiny little beaks, but again, we don't know what these animals look like in real life. So yeah, just tiny little nitpick, but it's not the worst thing in the world. The detailing looks really nice. I like the little beak right here. It looks pretty nice. Got the little nostrils right there. I love how big the scales look here towards the tip of the snout right here. You got some really large scales here where the nose is, and how it kind of outlines the beak. And you got some nice little detail like of the skin, or the little scales kind of outlining the eye and just around the skull right here. Looks really nice. Nice little detail around the eyes themselves, which the eyes look pretty good. Kind of hard to see because they are a dark color, but having animals with like darker eyes is kind of naturalistic, in my opinion. So that looks pretty good. The lower side right here, the beak looks pretty nice as well. Nice amount of scales here on the lower jaw, which looks really nice as well. And here throughout the head, really nice scale work here towards the back of the head right here. Really nice. You got some smaller, finer looking scales here up here, even at the top of the head. I like how there's just different sizes of scales, especially for a smaller figure. The detailing is amazing on this one. And then moving down the neck, oh, actually forgot to talk about inside of the mouth. The gum flaps look really nice as well. And then the teeth look really good as well. Nice, very well pronounced, very sharp looking. So I think Mattel did a really nice job with that. I don't think these guys had a whole lot of teeth, especially here towards the front of the mouth. They maybe some small. Actually, I'm not even too sure actually of how the teeth look on these smaller dinosaurs. So this might not be entirely accurate, having them filled with teeth like this. It actually gives them the look of being more like a carnivore, in my opinion, instead of, or an herbivore, which I do believe is what these guys are. And here on the other side, you got nice little tongue detail and some nice teeth along the inside of the lower jaw as well. But the teeth look really nicely sculpted, though, regardless if this dinosaur had a whole lot of teeth or not. And then here along the neck, really nice detail with the scales. Like, the scales look really good on this one. As you can see, just really tiny little scales here along the neck. Got some, and they kind of get bigger right here, and then it just kind of goes back to being small. So that's really cool. And then here at the body, really nice muscle definition, where you can see the muscles or some of the bones kind of peeking throughout the skin here along the body and where the arms are, which is really nice. Nice little skin wrinkles here towards the chest area right here, which looks really nice. The arms look really good, pretty muscular with a lot of the muscles kind of showing through the skin right there. Really nice scales here on the side of the arm, and really tiny fine scales here on this part of the arm as well. It's not as very prominent as the rest of the body, but they are there if you just kind of look very closely. And the hands look really nice as well. Nice sculpt work on each of the digits, and I like the little ridges along each finger, and the sharp looking claws, which look really nice on this one. And I do believe it has the correct amount of digits, even though not all of them might be covered in scales, or each one having a claw at the end of it. I'm not sure if each digit would have had a claw. I'm not entirely sure, but I think it might have the same number of digits on each hand. I could be wrong though. Then moving on to the body, you got some really beautiful looking scales here on the body. You got some larger scales here kind of around the shoulder, and it kind of become larger scales here at the top or the back of the animal, and they kind of fade into being smaller as you go down the body, which you can see it gets larger here, and you got some smaller scales that go down even here on this side of the body. So I really do love the way the scales look on this one. And then here on the underside, you got some smaller scales covering the underside of the figure itself, which looks pretty nice, I would say. Really nice detail in the sculpt right there. And then moving on to the legs right here, you got some really nice scale work along the legs, and that continues all the way down. You got some really smaller, finer looking scales here going down the leg. And then once you get to the ankle and the rest of the foot, you get some really cool look for the scales, very reminiscent to like snakes in my opinion. I don't know, it's just the kind of the way they look, but I like how they're larger compared to what you got up here, so that's really cool. You don't really see a whole lot of that in my opinion. You can see some really nice snake looking scales right here for the rest of the foot right here. And then here on the foot themselves, the digits look really nice. I like the scoots of scales along each toe. The claws look pretty nice as well. Then here at the bottom of the feet, nice detailing in the skin. And then here on the foot, you got some really nice scales going here on the back of the foot, and some very tiny scales here on the side of the foot right here, which looks really cool. I really like the detail Mattel put into that. And you got the little dew claw, which looks really nice as well. You got the little claw facing backwards right there, and then some nice detail on the scales, which pretty much covers the entire leg, like I've mentioned before. So really great detail. You can see the little kneecap right there. You got some nice little muscle definition going down the legs because they are very muscular and long, because this guy would be mostly running for its life half the time. So it's got to be very speedy and probably very agile as well. And you got some nice little, creases in the skin going down the tail right here. Some nice little folds of the skin around where the legs are, to allow for some more movement. And then going down the rest of the tail, you got some really nice scales going throughout the rest of the tail, which looks really good. And you got some really tiny, maybe some tiny finer scales, but kind of just a bit more of a smoother texture for the underside of the tail before it kind of fades into the smaller scales here at the back end right here. So really nice work on the scaling on this Hypsilophodon, and it makes it kind of stand out and very unique compared to the Drysaurus. So the scale work on this figure is top notch. I really do love the way it looks, and the sculpt of the figure looks pretty nice as well. It pretty much captures of what we would think a Hypsilophodon looks like. Overall, I would say maybe not 100% perfect, but I think it overall captures the look of it pretty decently. So yeah, I really do like that. The colors are really good on this one. So I do believe that in the books, I'm not sure if Jurassic Park or The Lost World, I do believe Hypsilophodon, kind of similar to the Drysaurus, was always described of having like a greenish color. So the fact that Mattel gave this dinosaur a greenish color is really nice. Again, we don't know exactly how it looked, so this is kind of like Mattel's interpretation of it, but I think it overall, captures the look of it really nicely with the green tones and makes it stand out compared to the Drysaurus. So I think this is exactly like what you would see in the novel, maybe. So I really do like that. I like the dark forest green, or maybe like a pine green color for throughout the rest of the figure, which looks really good, especially against the bright, very bright green patterns that you got on it too, which looks really good. I love the colors and the patterns that you have on this one. The bright green works so well against the dark green. It makes it stand out, it makes it pop. So you got some nice little splotches of the bright green here along the back, and it kind of goes down the rest of the tail, which I really do like how it goes down the rest of the tail. It makes the figure seem more complete, which the green color looks really nice, and you got a bit more of like a brownish olive green outlining the splotches on each of the striping, which looks really good, kind of maybe highlights it better. And some of the little splotchy green dots that you have on here are not outlined, but they're just kind of sprinkled on there, which actually works really good as well. So I really do love the colors. I love how you got that olive green color kind of mixing into the the green splotches, which makes it seem very natural. This guy seems very tropical in my opinion too, so I really do like the color choices. And it works so good against the scaling too. You got some more of that green, speckling or dots going along the side of the tail right here, and even here along the body, which looks really nice as well. And you got some of that splotchy green and a little bit of that olive green color going along the side of the neck right here, which looks really nice. You can even see it here on the other side, which looks really good. Got some more of that green speckling here on the side of the body. And then as you move on to the head, you got like the olive green color, which I think is the same color you got on some of the striping back here for the lower jaw, and a little bit on the neck and going down the throat a little bit. It would have been nice to see this color kind of go down the rest of the underside in my opinion. But it is what it is. I do like the different shade of a green right here. It makes it stand out, and makes it look, it's a bit different compared to the other shades of green that we got throughout the rest of the body. Then you got a really nice brown color for the beak, both for the top half of the skull and the lower half, which looks really nice. It makes it stand out against the green. You got a nice fleshy color for the gum flaps, the inside of the mouth, and the tongue. Too bad there's nothing on the roof of the mouth, sadly. And then you got a nice bright beige color for the teeth, which again makes it stand out. So there's a whole lot going on with this figure. And then you got a really nice pinkish red color surrounding the eye and kind of sprinkling down the head a little bit, which looks really good and stands out against the green body really nicely. It just highlights the head a lot better. And I like how it's a different shade than what you got on the inside of the mouth. And the eyes themselves, the inside, the main color of the eye is like almost like a brighter shade of a brown, a lot more brighter than we've got here on the beak, and a bit more of like a reddish tone for the inside of the eye with a black pupil. So that looks really good. You can definitely tell it has a pupil, but when you look at it from far away, it looks like it has dark eyes, which is kind of like the illusion that you get with normal animals today. So I really do like the way the colors look on this figure. And then you got like the same brown color, which the same color you got for the beak as the claws here on the hands. All five claws are painted in that brown color, which is nice. And then the main 3 claws on the feet are painted in that same brown as well. Sadly, the dew claw is not painted, unfortunately. But yeah, colors are phenomenal on this one. Same with the detailing of the sculpt with the scales and everything. So I really do love the way this figure looks. So now moving on to articulation. The head right here can go down about that far and up about that far. I just took this figure out of the box, so I'm trying to be a little bit careful with the joints until I get them warmed up when I play with it later. Kind of moving out the joints like that. So the head can move up about that far, which is pretty nice. And then here at the base of the neck, can go up about that far, and then down about that far. They cannot move side to side, but it can also rotate 360. So you get some really nice motions with using both joints of the head and the neck piece, making it look up and making it look down. Like, look at that, you can make it look straight up. That's really cool. And make it look down like that. So that is really cool. Nice range of motion there. Here at the arms, they can move up about that far and down. They can move forward and backwards as well. And here at the elbow joints, forward and backwards. I feel like these little joints right here at the elbows are very flimsy, so you might want to be very careful when moving or playing around with this. But yeah, they can move forward and backwards, as well as rotate 360. And then you even got wrist articulation, which is really cool and unique. Actually, maybe not. I think the Mosasaurus and the Ornitholestes had that, so I totally forgot about that. So yeah, the wrist joints look really nice here. They can just move forward, or sorry, not forward, up and down, as well as swivel 360. So that is really cool. You get some nice little poses with the arms right there. Moving on to the legs, they can pivot in and out very nicely. And here at the thigh right here, they can move forward and backwards very nicely. And then here at the knee joint, again, I really like how the knee joints look on these figures, because you get more range of motion for this part of the leg, which can move forward about that far, back about that far, and they can swivel 360. So you get some really nice running poses with these dinosaurs, which is fitting for these little herbivores right here. And you got an ankle joint, which is really nice as well. It can go forward about that far, back about that far, and they can also swivel. It's a bit more tighter on mine, but I'll have to play with that later. But yeah, that can move, and the foot themselves can move forward about that far and back about that far, as well as rotate. So you can get some really nice balancing depending on how you're trying to pose it. So you can get some really nice range of motion and poses with these legs. And then here, finally at the tail, it can go up and down, left and right, and it can go 360, but also the back of the tail is made of a soft, bendy rubber. So there is a bendy wire inside the tail, which you can bend it however way you want, which I only tend to use it mostly when taking pictures. Other than that, I don't really like to mess with it because I don't want the bendy wire to get all weird over time. And yeah, for articulation, it's really good. Just like the Dryosaurus, the articulation for these smaller herbivores is really good. You can get some really great pictures with that. Accessories that this figure comes with is the alternate jaw, just like the Dryosaurus. So you can have it positioned with its mouth open or with its mouth closed with this piece right here. With this little piece, you got some really nice, tiny, finer looking scales here at the bottom of the jaw, which actually looks a bit different than the actual open jaw, which is pretty interesting. Nice scales here on the lower jaw as well. And the beak, really nice as well. And on the inside of the mouth, you just got the little teeth and the tongue. You don't really need a whole lot of detail for this one because the mouth is going to be closed. But I really do like having alternate jaws compared to having an articulated jaw. Sometimes Mattel doesn't do a good job with some articulated jaws, especially with herbivores. So I really do like having this as a replacement, just having alternate jaws instead of having an articulated jaw. But again, that's just my own opinion. So here it is with its open jaw. Looks pretty nice. But now let's go ahead and try out the closed jaw, which I think you could just take it out just like that pretty easily. You get a little peg right here, which you can insert inside the hole, which makes it very easy to put together, especially since the lower jaw is made of a bendier, softer, rubbery material. So here we can take the lower jaw piece, put it up in there, and if we close it just like that, and there you go. Now you have a closed mouth Hypsilophodon, and that looks really good, actually. I really do like these guys better with their mouths closed, but I'm sure for picture taking, having its mouth open would be really good as well, especially if it's screaming as it's being chased by a predator. So yeah, that looks really nice. So now let's move on to comparisons. The first thing I want to compare the Hypsilophodon to is actually the previous Hypsilophodon that Mattel came out with last year, back in 2025. So we just got this like new species, and then all of a sudden Mattel comes out with a Hammond Collection one, which is obviously the one that's going to be on my shelves. They look really different. It's definitely an interesting take on this species. Obviously Mattel just kind of went, you know, their own design of the Hypsilophodon, maybe roughly basing it off of previous artworks or whatever. This one seems to be a bit more based off of like how it could look in the Jurassic Park novel, probably. But it's kind of interesting how these are two of the exact same dinosaurs, just completely different in not only just colors, but just the overall design. You know, this one's actually covered in feathers. I'm surprised that they didn't add any feathers to this Hypsilophodon, but I actually do really like it being all scaly like this. You can see the difference in the head shape. This one has a circular pupil, whereas this one has a slit pupil, so it's definitely very different in overall shape. And this one's got that really unique looking feathered crest above its head right here, above the eyes. But very interesting looking comparing both Hypsilophodons. So yeah, that is very interesting indeed to compare both of these, but they both look really good though. I really do like both figures. So I'm really glad to have Hypsilophodon as a species in my collection, even though I have now two different versions of them. So yeah, these look really cool next to each other. And then last but not least, let's go ahead and compare the Hypsilophodon with the Dryosaurus. And they look very similar, but I like how different each one looks. Like, I can definitely see just having a huge herd of a bunch of Hypsilophodon and Dryasauruses together, all different designs, and just kind of running together in like a small little pack, which is exactly how I'd imagined when I was reading the books. Really cool how each one is different, makes them each stand out, and I actually think the Drysaurus is a bit more larger compared to the Hypsilophodon, which I think is pretty much true. Drysaurus is a bit more larger than Hypsilophodon, so it kind of captures that look, and I like how each one is, you know, different colors, slightly different in terms of design. So they look very similar, but they're also very different, which I do appreciate. So these look really nice together, especially with the closed mouth. The Drysaurus has a really long tail, which I really do like compared to the shorter tail that the Hypsilophodon has. But yeah, they look really nice next to each other. I really do like these little figures in the Hammond Collection. So I'm all in for new species in the Hammond Collection that don't have anything to do with the movies. So I'm totally down for that. And yeah, I do wish that maybe the Hypsilophodon should have had like smaller sized arms like the Drysaurus, because I think they were part of the same family group of these smaller swift dinosaurs. So I do think the Hypsilophodon should have had smaller hands and arms, just like the Drysaurus. These ones are a bit more larger and more elongated. But you know, that's again a tiny little nitpick. And actually, I think the legs of the Hypsilophodon are actually a bit more longer compared to the Drysaurus, because I think the little ankle distance here between the ankle and the foot is actually a lot more longer than that with the Drysaurus. So that is very interesting. And obviously the body feels a bit more compact on the Hypsilophodon compared to the Drysaurus, which the proportions on the Drysaurus are just amazing. Pretty much captures the look of that dinosaur very nicely, in my opinion. So yeah, both of these dinosaurs look really good next to each other. Alright everyone, so that's about to wrap it up for this review. It's a bit more longer than I would have liked, but I really do like talking about these figures. So for this Hypsilophodon figure, I really do like it a lot. I love the sculpt on it. The scales are just amazing on this one. I love the colors, and I love everything about this figure. It's really nice in my opinion, and the articulation is it just adds to it. It's such a good figure in my opinion. I recommend it because it's a really nice looking figure, nice little herbivore that you can build packs with, and it's good for pictures too, I would say. So I recommend it, even though it's not something from the movies. But yeah, for me personally, I really do like the way this figure looks. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say for this figure, everyone. Sorry that this video is so long. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys again for the next video.